faith in Staffordshire police.
We back the police. We wanted justice. You know, remember, it's my sister, she's grieving, I've got a nephew who's on the way. So the main thing for me and then the family was that people were convicted. I think the first 2 or 3 years after Kevin was very quiet, and then suddenly everything just kind of opened up.
There were appeals made on the anniversaries of Kevin's death, and a £25,000 reward was offered. In 2005, 3 years after Kevin's murder, police made a breakthrough. A man called Simeon Taylor came forward. He told detectives 5 men had been involved in the murder, and he'd been there when Kevin was repeatedly shot and beaten. He told them he drove one of the men to the scene, but denied being involved in the murder and said he would give evidence in a trial. Although Wolverhampton is a big city, the community is tight-knit, and the men Taylor said were involved were well known to everyone, including those close to Kevin Nunes. But straight away, Leanne Williams, who'd known Simeon since they were children, was worried.
When they said that Simeon was a witness, we as a family turned and said, "Is he your only witness? Is he the key witness?" And it says, no, Simeon's not the key witness. We've got others. But he just kind of puts the glue on. So we said, okay, if it's not just solely on him, then it's fine. But if it is, then we're worried. Because Simeon was very up and down, like a yo-yo. Yeah, he could come across a bit of a liar.
So not a reliable witness in your book?
No, not at all.
Simeon Taylor was already in jail for another offence, but when he was released he was granted protected witness status. It was the job of Staffordshire's sensitive policing unit to make sure he was kept safe so that he could give evidence in court. The SPU, as it was known, was a small specialist team which not only looked after protected witnesses but managed officers who were working undercover. Hey Joe. Hi Phil. Nice to meet you. Hello Phil. Joe Anderson is a former detective inspector with Staffordshire Police. Later in the same year, Joe took charge of the SPU. Straight away, he was concerned about the way it was being run and what he believed was its cavalier attitude to witness protection. He was particularly worried after reviewing the way Simeon Taylor was being handled, his behaviour and his demands.
The witness's behaviour while he was on the scheme was quite disgusting. He was regularly abusive, at times violent. He would cause damage to hotels and safe houses. He would be abusive to other guests and staff. Just from conversations with the officers within the SPU, they related accounts of his criminality, in particular an incident where he was stopped as a passenger in a stolen car, in possession of an offensive weapon, never charged, never dealt with that matter. I had reports from members of the unit that he was using and abusing cannabis whilst on the scheme, and on occasions handlers were having to clean up his mess in his hotel room, pack away his drug paraphernalia before moving him from one location to another. I gave a firm instruction that if he was found with any drugs of any sort, he was to be arrested and dealt with for that. And the officers strongly disagreed and said we couldn't arrest him because it would affect his position as a witness in the forthcoming Nunes trial.
He was also concerned when officers on the unit recounted tales of their nights out drinking with Simeon Taylor, who seemed to be taking advantage of knowing how valuable he was to the Kevin Nunes murder investigation. He was being considered for relocation after the trial for his own safety, and along with his family was taken on a lavish, all-expenses-paid trip to one possible new home.
The witness and his mother were complaining that they had not had a holiday for some years, and that if they didn't get a holiday, he would come off of the scheme and would not give evidence. I then found out that under the guise of sending him on a resettlement visit, he was sent to South Africa. His mother and his 2 brothers were also sent to South Africa and spent several weeks over there having a holiday. They were accompanied at different times by a team of witness protection officers. The costs were all picked up by Staffordshire Police and amounted to thousands and thousands of pounds.
His behaviour was so bad in South Africa that he was kicked out of the country. The final straw for Joe Anderson, though, came back in the UK after Staffordshire Police paid for a hotel room for their star witness. Simeon Taylor cancelled the booking, checked out and kept the refund, £320. It was theft. Joe Anderson became aware of what had happened and believed his colleagues had deliberately failed to record it because they knew it could jeopardise the murder investigation.